Hey everybody. Um, can y'all hear me? I am trying something a little bit new. You should be able to see that things look different right now. I don't entirely know if I've got everything set up correctly. So hopefully I do, and hopefully y'all are seeing this and are able to use the chat feature. Uh, so we'll find out pretty quickly. But either way, I'm going to deliver this, and if the chat feature's working, then I'll take questions, and if not, then we'll just try this again next week. So, hello, and welcome to Conversations with Matt DeLockery. For the last several weeks, we've been covering several topics that are pretty closely related. I've been trying to get you to think through why you think the way you do about important issues. And before you talk in public or on the internet about why a particular position is the right one, I've tried to encourage you to take a minute, step in the shoes of the other person, and consider it from their perspective. They might actually have some good reasons for um, why they're doing what they're doing, but YouTube is not. Very choppy, volume low. YouTube, yeah, I'm getting a notification saying that YouTube is not receiving enough video. I don't really know what's going on here. I'm trying to make this work. Is anybody else actually able to see this? Can y'all text in the chat and say, like, is this working for you? Or are you having trouble seeing it? Or text me directly if the chat's not working. Okay, one person says looks fine. So I'll just pick up where I left off, and I'm going to roll on, and I'll watch the video later and see if I need to make any adjustments. So anyway, we're on to a new topic today. We're taking a look at other things, and today we're going to talk about which translation is closest to the original, which is really what we're asking when we're asking which Bible translation should I read. So I mean, personally, like, I want to know what the Bible says without somebody's um, interpretation. I don't really trust other people's opinions, at least not generally. I want to know what it says for myself. Unfortunately, though, it's not possible to completely eliminate other people's opinions because even if you can read the Bible in its original languages, people had to figure out what all the words meant. So you're still relying on them for that, and as well as some other things. The thing is, it's just not possible to translate something from one language into another. Languages aren't codes. It's not like A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. It doesn't work like that. So rather than going into a long explanation about how languages are different that most of you will probably just mentally check out for, let me just give you an example. So John 3:16, most of us are pretty familiar with that, even if you're not a Christian, says something along the lines of, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life." Probably heard that before. Here is what it looks like in Greek if you just translate that verse word for word in English. This is what you get. In this way, for he loved the God the world, so that the Son, the only he gave, in order that each the believing into him, not he perish, but he has life eternal. Yeah, so how would you like to read the Bible like that? And if you're talking about having something translated directly into your language, that's what it looks like. It would be that ugly. So you really do want somebody to smooth things out for you. But the question is, what does it mean to smooth things out? Well, there's two basic ways that translators can smooth things out. The first is a word-for-word translation. In these versions, you'll get a better feel for what the original Greek, Hebrew, or Aramaic actually says. However, you'll have to do more of the interpretation of the meaning of those words yourself. There'll be lots of words that have loaded theological or historical meanings that you may not even know are loaded. But these translations are not going to attempt you to help you very much. You're going to get as close to the original words as possible, but you're going to have to do the homework on your own. Translations in this category are things like the King James, the New American Standard Bible, and the English Standard Version, the KJV, the NASB, and the ESV. Then you have the other type of translation. Instead of a word for word translation, it's a meaning based translation. Here, the translators will be more flexible in which words they use in the language in which they're translating into, because they're not worried so much about giving you the exact words. They're trying to translate the meaning of the original as accurately as they can. And the meaning will be more accurate as they understand it. So it will be closer to the original meaning, but some interpretation has been done for you. The New Living Translation, the NLT, is a good example of a meaning-based translation. And the New International Version, the NIV, is somewhere between the two ends of the spectrum. It's a little bit from both worlds. So you can see why some people would prefer one version and some people would prefer another. Both people want to get as close to the original as possible, but one person is aiming at the words and another is aiming at the meaning. And now you're probably thinking, okay, fine, well, what version do I read? How do I know what's right? Here's what you need to do. You really don't need to worry about which translation you read, at least not too much. You need two Bibles, and both don't have to be physical. For your primary Bible, pick one that appeals to you. For weirdos like me who like knowing what the original says and doing your homework to figure out what it means to you, then go with something like the ESV or the NASB. For those of you who like some more of interpretation done for you, go with the NLT. And if you're not really sure or you like a little bit of both, go with something in the middle like the NIV. Now, once you have your primary Bible, pick one from the opposite end of the spectrum. This is what you will go to when you're having a hard time figuring out what a verse means. You get a different but good perspective on what's being said in the original language. So if you like the ESV, then look at the NLT when you're having trouble. If you like the NLT, look at the ESV when you're having trouble. If you like the NIV, then you can go either direction. Doing this is really all you need for most basic issues. So listen to what I say now, because most people get this wrong. Most of the problems people have in understanding what the Bible means are not a result of translation. Problems are not usually because everyone agrees on what the Greek means, but they just can't find the right word in English. They're either because there's disagreement on what the Greek means, or because there is no way to communicate an absolutely massive theological topic in just a few words, in any language. Improved translation skills will not help you for most of these. At this point, you need to look to other resources and study topics to help you. One of the most important things you can do is to spend a minute studying ancient culture. Knowing what it was like living in an honor and shame culture, for example, will greatly change your understanding of how people acted in the biblical world. A whole lot of things that happen in the Gospels will look different, and we'll talk about that stuff. For now, what I'm telling you is that you're not missing loads of stuff if you can't read Greek, Hebrew, or Aramaic. If you want to do serious research, if you want to read and maybe write books with lots of footnotes, then you absolutely need to learn those languages. But if that's not your goal, then that's not where you need to spend your time, and you're not missing something critical. Languages are important, but they're not the most critical thing. So pick your primary Bible, one that you like and is a good translation, like some of the ones I've mentioned, and there's others. And then have your other Bible that you go to when you have questions, which can absolutely be one that you just look up on your phone. So start there. And we'll get into some other topics that will be useful for you, like ancient culture, and I'll give you resources that will help you on those topics when we get there. Question: can I post those Bible types in the comments? There are, yeah, I can do that. It's going to move the screen around if I do that right now. How to respond to the criticism that the translation makes the Bible unreliable? It just doesn't. How do you respond to it? I would suggest by taking a look at a couple of different versions. You can compare any of the ones that I've just mentioned. You can go into your local bookstore that has Bibles and pick up a couple of different ones on the shelf, and then pick verses at random and start comparing them. based on the way they've translated, they're going to look a little bit different, but the ideas coming out of them are going to be pretty similar. So it's not like you're going to be reading, a newspaper on one hand and a fiction book on another. It's not like they're wildly different. They pretty much say the same thing. They just do it in slightly different ways. So, as somebody who can read the originals, well, I don't know Aramaic. Greek and Hebrew, yes. Aramaic, no. Not yet. It's on my to-do list. But I can tell you that it's like, okay, well, yeah, they are communicating what the original is. But if you want to test it, then you just compare different versions yourselves, and that'll do it. All right, I'm not seeing any other questions, and this stream has not been doing well today. Probably it's the new software I'm attempting to use, so I apologize for that. I will do my best to sort this out by next week. Technology is not my favorite thing in the world, so I'm sure a few of you can sympathize with that. So anyway, thanks for showing up. I apologize for the technical difficulties, and hopefully that'll get sorted out before next week. Talk to y'all then.